Hello, I'm Derek Smalls, and you're watching, or listening, or both, to Rock Shop Live with Eric Broadbent. He's the Bent Broad.
You're watching Rock Shop Live, brought to you by Stewart Travel Guitars. See the incredible stowaway travel guitar at stewartguitars.com. Also brought to you by Idea Bench, makers of hot rod-inspired pedal boards and pedal board accessories at ideabench.com. Microphones for Rock Shop Live are brought to you by Rode Microphones. Now here's your host from Ontario, Canada, guitarist Eric Broadbent.
Hey everyone, a very happy Saturday afternoon to you. Welcome to Rock Shop Live, a special edition today, and looking forward to having this conversation with a return visit from singer-songwriter, you know her from the Smashing Pumpkins. Nice to have you back, Miss Katie Cole. Katie, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me back in these very strange times.
It is. And we just had a wonderful conversation for about 10 minutes before. I like actually doing these test calls. Sometimes I think it's more of a selfish part on my part. But it is important to do a test call before we get going, get all the cameras and stuff going. But it's nice to kind of warm up a little bit, you know, and we were kind of both venting a little bit here before we went live. And now I feel good. And I know
I think it's also part of that. I don't know about you, but like because we're all social distancing a lot still, I don't talk to as many people as I used to at all or see as many people. So when I do actually get to the chance to have a conversation, whether it's with you or my neighbor or someone at the post office, I find I'm saying a little bit more than I should or talking for a bit longer than I normally would just because it's that need for human interaction. So yeah, it was nice to have a chat.
I agree. And you know, it's really funny. You know, I saw you with your phone just a moment ago. I have my phone here, and I don't use my telephone for a phone very often. I'm not a texter for the most part. Well, yeah, I do text, but I'm not like one of these glued to my phone. But for the very first time, I used my phone and had a long conversation with one of my dear old friends. And I spoke for like 2.5 hours to him. You know, we're chatting via Facebook, and then I was like, "Hey, want to call?" I'm like, "Okay, I don't really talk on the phone much." You know, and I called him and it was just so nice to actually have a nice long conversation. And it was like, I don't even know what we talked about. We talked about everything and anything, but it was just nice to forget about some stuff for a little bit.
Very human.
Yeah, it is. But we're all adapting, you know, to this, and we'll talk about that at length here again throughout the program today. How you've adapted, how you know, musicians in general, you know, the world has come to a halt as far as performing, you know, stand-up comedy, music, you name it, plays, you know, doing dramatic plays and all that kind of stuff. So it's, but anyways, long story short, we're going to have lots of fun. And I told all of our viewers as well, too, that you always bring positive energy, and I'm going to try and steal some of it. And I know some of our viewers will as well, too. But last time you were here, you know, everyone left with such a uplifting feeling. Different world then, but still, I know you'll bring it this time, too. But we got a bunch of people jumping in the chat. We'll say hi to them. We've got Matt Krill jumping in, Lori Yu, Andrew Nowak is here. My beautiful Sandra Lee, as I was telling you about her, she runs the chat efficiently as always, and she'll be sharing a lot of your social media links throughout the program as well too. Brad Miller's jumping in as well too, and he's making a comment on the lack of mustache. You probably don't recognize me since last time without the mustache.
Yes, you are missing a mustache. What? It's technically Movember still. So where is the mustache?
I should grow it back just for that, to show my support. Yeah, because I do support that. It's just one of those things, you know, and I won't go into details, but I was growing it back, and for the first time in my life of having like born with a mustache, it was hurting me. So I was like, screw this, I'm taking it off. But anyways, let's jump. You know, we had our Thanksgiving back in October here in Canada, and a lot of people still wish me happy Thanksgiving because they don't realize where we're located. But how was your Thanksgiving? Obviously, probably a little different this year.
I didn't do anything. I watched the Macy's parade because it's a Thanksgiving to me is sort of an adopted tradition. I mean, I'll take it on any sort of holiday that involves just like eating a bunch and just doing a whole lot of nothing. Like I'm on board with that.
Yeah,
obviously. But like I really didn't do anything at all. And I'll usually cook like a spread, and like I just cooked a bit. Mm-hmm. Like it just didn't feel like, I don't know. It's not that I didn't want to celebrate, but it just didn't feel like I think I was just thinking to myself, I'll just do that next year.
Yeah, I know, right?
Like, let's just have a do-over.
Yeah, have a lazy.
We'll just do it again next year. That's fine.
Throw on some sweats.
This year was just a test run.
I hear you on that. One thing I admire, though, of the Americans, especially when it comes to like any holiday, whether it be Thanksgiving or Christmas or things like that, the parades and things like that are just absolutely. We're pretty good in Canada, but the Americans are just amazing when it comes to as you talked about.
Oh yeah, there's no joke about that.
The floats and the displays.
It was interesting to watch like the Macy's Thanksgiving parade and watch all the performers still wearing masks, and like they're trying to have a sense about the performances, like it's still carefree and celebratory and all that stuff, but it was still like it's still, this thing is still obviously lingering over all of us, and I think any opportunity to try and get a sense of normalcy is really healthy, but it's still like, I think some of it is still like, let's do it because we're gonna do it. It's a little bit of that.
Yeah.
But it was still fun to watch, and like
Yeah.
It's not my tradition, but I will anything involves like a heap load of mashed potato or whatever, I'm in. So it's all fine.
That's right. And we do have next year, and hopefully things will look up much better in 2021. I mean, we've got new things, plans already rolling out, looking forward, to, and here in Canada too, but vaccines and things of that nature, and just good medical teams on board, so I think we're going to do pretty good. But
totally.
I didn't realize until you and I were having an email conversation about a week or so back when we were talking about doing the show again, I had no clue that you were a Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul fan. And that I've started a new show, as you know, it's on Friday nights. And you would tell me you're a fan. I'm like, oh, that's cool. And I got the boys last night, Lewis and Danny. I know. Wasn't that cool?
I saw that. Thank you so much for getting them to give me a shout out. I was definitely late to the party with Breaking Bad. I think it's because everyone was talking when it first aired. People were talking about it for so long and so much, and I'm that still partially rebellious 13-year-old teenager that's like, well, you like it, I don't want to like it.
Yeah.
That's partly me still, and I fight it all the time, but like it took me a while to actually get onto it, and once I finally watched Breaking Bad and obviously subsequently Better Call Saul, I was like, what was I thinking, like not seeing this immediately? It was just so well put together, and like I've always been like a fan of reading liner notes of who's involved with what, more on the music side of things with songwriters and producers and studios and artists, but I always paid attention to Vince Gilligan's writing, and he wrote all the best episodes of the X-Files, and I remembered that he liked the episodes that were like really well put together, or that involved really elaborate plot twists where it was really scenario based. I always paid attention to the ones that sort of really captured my imagination and was like, who wrote that? And it was
Vince.
They were always his writing, and I'm like, so when it's like when my brain sort of put two and two together, I was like,
makes sense. Yeah.
Totally.
I agree with you as well too. I mean, as a younger adult, I saw X-Files were coming and going, and I'd watch a few. It's almost like watching The Office. You could almost tune in at any given time and watch a couple episodes. Hey, this is cool. And you don't have to be the diehard fan, and you'd still get it, Yep. But if you're a diehard fan, it's even cooler. And I'm not sure if you know this as well too, but I do have a co-host on for the Gilliver Show. He's temporarily on hiatus right now, but Thomas Schnauz, he was also a writer on, we worked with Vince on the X-Files as well too. Yeah, and he's obviously taking a break now. When we had the idea of doing the show together, I approached him. I said, "You want to do the show?" And he's like, "Yeah, okay, we'll do it. How many do you want to do?" And it's one of those things where maybe you go to pitch a record deal, and I want this. And you could ask for $50,000 or $5 million, but you ask for $100,000. Well, Tom says, "How many you want to do?" I said, I should have said 20 episodes. I said 4, and he says, "Okay, I'll do 4." And I was able to coax him from 4 to 10. And then,
that's good.
Yeah, so we're with the fans. The fans benefited on that one, but he's taking a break now to finish. Not just him, but the writing team is finishing season 6, and hopefully they'll start filming in early 2021 if it's safe and things like that.
Yeah.
So yeah. But
I can't imagine it's so challenging for. I mean, it's challenging for every creative industry, like all these halts in production and all the interrupted schedules for everybody, whether it's recording or filming or releasing or trying to promote. Just, I mean, I don't know how you get things back into it. Like, well, we'll just, how do you slot things back into a normal environment? Like, I don't think it can ever go back. It's now monitoring what's safe. Like, is this safe? What's safe? Because so many, I mean, especially the television and film industry. The music industry has a lengthy rollout for, releases, but like the film industry, they might film something and then it comes out literally a year later because it's scheduling, and then it has to go out to like, I don't know that well, but like to find out that so many movies were just halted, like they were halted releasing them because they were like, what do we do? We can't promote it. Like, what are we supposed to do? And then obviously so many of these things are now coming out, direct to television. And like the music industry, it's just been a different sort of situation where we've been able to monitor what's been going on and react quicker, or plan differently, or adjust or adapt. And this has been definitely the year of adaptation. I've learned so much, and from, just watching what's been happening, watching what everyone else is doing, and then creating my own new plan.
Exactly. Well, the old cliche of sink or swim has never held more true. You have to adapt or you're left behind. But you know what I think it is right now in both the music industry and especially the TV and film industry, because a lot of people, a lot of crews, there's a lot of the big networks are watching what everybody else is doing. And, like, I know I'm a big fan of The Walking Dead, and I know they're starting to do they've been filming for a little bit. They've got special crews, even like military type crews on set, very, very precise, and it's safe and things of that nature. But it's almost like, you get a bunch of your friends and you're standing up on a cliff. You're going to cliff dive into the water, a lagoon or an ocean or whatever the case may be. And it's like, okay, you're scared, I'm scared, but we look at friend over here. He'll jump. Okay, well, he jumped. Yeah, he survived. Okay, maybe I can jump now. And that's what all the people are doing. They're watching some crews go out there, how they film, how they're doing it. They might take some notes on how they're doing it, apply it to their thing. But everyone it's almost like, I don't even want to use the term guinea pigs, but they're waiting for the guinea pigs to go out and see how it works for them. And then they'll maybe adapt some of that technology and the safety approaches.
Yeah, it's challenging. It's challenging when people are trying to, keep momentum going with the projects that they're doing. And it's, and then there's huge spanners that are thrown into the works and not knowing when you're going to come out of it. Like I remember when things started to shut down in March, really. And like I watched like my touring schedule for the Smashing Pumpkins, it got postponed from, we were supposed to be touring with Guns N' Roses.
I know that was my next question. I was going to ask you about that. I know, and I know what a fantastic event. Jeff loves, Jeff's an 80s guy, so that was, I was going to ask you, you have Bubbly. You have Bubbly over in the United States?
Yep.
Awesome. Sandra loves that here as well, too. I didn't mean to get sidetracked. But yeah, no. I was going to ask you about that. So you're right. The big news comes out. There's going to be several dates with Guns N' Roses. And all of a sudden,
I was so pumped because I was like, I mean, last time I spoke to you, we'd done an arena tour, and then we were going into the European tour and did, 19 countries last year. And it was like, and all these massive festivals. And I was like, more bucket list checks. And like when the news came about that Guns N' Roses were putting together a stadium tour and we were going to be sharing the bill with them, it was like, oh my God, because, oh my God. It's
exactly.
Not only it's Guns N' Roses and it's a stadium tour. Like this is huge, huge, huge. And so obviously everybody was completely stoked about that. And when the news hit and I watched like our festival dates that were, I think they were booked for May. I think they were supposed to be before those Guns N' Roses dates. They got postponed and moved to October. And I was like, it's a bit soon to be moving.
I know.
Like in the thinking that things are going to be safe in a few months. Like that's
wishful.
This is the back of my brain. And I know that everyone was so optimistic. And I think everybody did that move. All the touring artists did that move, moved all their sort of spring and summer dates to the fall, and not knowing how big this thing was going to get, because obviously there was no national sort of plan in place at the time. So people just went, we're just going to be touring in the fall. And I watched like these Guns N' Roses dates, and I was just like I knew the inevitable was going to happen, but when obviously they got cancelled, I was just like, because I was so excited. I mean,
it's a dream come true. It's a dream come true.
Absolute once in a life. I mean, I'm so thankful for everything I've been able to do as being a touring member of the Smashing Pumpkins, but it's that was just going to be like a different level, like a whole other experience. Like it really is being around that sort of type of legendary band, and coupling that being a stadium tour too. So I was just super excited about that. And I mean, I think if it got cancelled for any other reason, I would be more devastated.
Yeah.
But this being why things got cancelled for everybody. Like the world got cancelled basically for a long period of time, and even manufacturing stopped. And as you were saying, as we were saying, really, schedules just got halted, and cogs stopped turning in terms of industry across the board. So us and entertainment, like in the scheme of things, it's not devastating. It's sad, but it's not. Things obviously can always be a lot worse, and whatever is the safest thing to do is always the right thing to do. So I was bummed, and then it was like, watching what was happening with the world. It was like I very quickly shifted to sort of the online forum of performing live on an online stage, and that became sort of something I really focused on, and I'm still focused on, because it's just impossible to tell when you can be normal.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I think I saw today, just doing some last minute, prep for the show today, I thought I saw some ticket dates being tentatively announced. I know it's so hard, and I feel so bad for these, the groups out there promoting tours, especially, the labels and things like that. And, people think, well, why are they planning a tour? Well, they have to plan these things, and there's the routing and all the stuff they have to do to make a tour happen. But it's looking like October 2021. I think Guns N' Roses has technically got dates out there. Have you heard anything from your camp if that's when they're hoping? Nothing at all, right?
I've heard nothing, but I'm not the one to know things. Like I usually know things a month out, maybe 2 months out before things happen. Like I think it was 2 months before the European dates last year, and I was told. And while on the European tour, I was locked in to do the American tour, which was only a month after that. So I'm just the person that I'm much further down the chain of command. I'm just like you want to do a tour? Me? Okay, I'm free that day. Yeah, that's fine with me.
You free for the next 6 weeks? Yeah, we're good.
I'll make it work.
One thing I can say, I did have the opportunity to see you twice on the Canadian leg. I got to see you and with my son Eric Jr. Toronto and London, Ontario, and you guys. I mean, you want to talk about an experience. Like, I've always been a Smashing Pumpkins fan. I'm not going to go on the record and say I was a diehard fan or I knew every song like I know Van Halen. I like Smashing Pumpkins like anybody else. But seeing you guys in person, it was just mind freaking blowing. And the Toronto show, I think it was a 3-hour show. And me, I sadly, and I'm not afraid to admit this, but I had to cut out about the last 2 songs. I'm telling Junior, I said, we got a 3.5 hour drive home. Dad's tired, old man dad. And it wasn't the fact that I wanted to, but I just want to make sure I got my son home safe, right? It was just incredible. And I mean, what all of you bring to the band, and I mean, you definitely bring a lot of greatness to the band, just the vocals, everything you do, and we'll talk about some, especially the vocals. We'll talk about one of your covers later on from the new record as well too. But I just want to make that note that you guys were incredible both times I saw you.
Well, thank you. I mean, obviously the band, the crew, and all those people, they put in so much work to make things happen. And the Shiny and So Bright arena tour, which was the 3.5 hour long tour, that was an experience. Like there were times during that tour where I'd look out to like the audience and I'd see people, and like, it was so bright. The amount of lighting coming off the stage was really intense that I could see like probably the first maybe a third or to a half of the audience that were on the floor level. So I could see their faces, and obviously they don't know that I'm looking at them. But I'm totally just crowd watching just people while I'm playing, just to gauge their reactions too. So, it gets into like hour 3 of the show and you're still watching their faces. And like at first I was thinking, are they zoning out or whatever? And then you look closer, like you sort of, get through the fog and the blinding lights and you go, oh no, they're freaking out. Like their faces, rather than being like zoned out, they're like,
yeah,
like when you really, that was what was, and there were like moments, obviously, like the way that Linda Strawberry had put together so much of the footage for the backdrops and screens, like people were just losing their minds. And then when we came out into it, and we did more of the the amphitheater type shows last year. We didn't have screens this time. We had they put together these 3
inflatables,
call it, like the Pepitos. Yeah. The 3 sort of really they were inflatable puppets, but they were also lit and timed to lighting to do things. And it was just, people were like, it was one of those things that, because they were so big, it was just one of those really awe-inspiring. Like, you couldn't take your eyes off the band, but you also couldn't take your eyes off the things that were behind the band. It was just one of those, they know how to surprise an audience and keep them going, whether it's a really long show or a really short sort of festival set. People were just like, what? Like, they were just they were shocked and excited. And then again, with the songs that the band plays, it was just great.
For sure. And I got to experience both of those, with the one being all the video screens, and hanging out with Jeff and his guitar tech Drew backstage. I got to see how much was involved in those video screens. I mean, it's been millions and millions of these little blocks of screens. It was very, very cool. Then seeing at the amphitheater in Toronto, the Molson Amphitheater, whatever they call it now, Budweiser Amphitheater, I forget what they call it, to be honest with you. But when we seen those inflatables, I thought, well, this is different. And then, like you say, it was larger than life and kind of a circus feel. And I mean that in the most positive way. You know, like, it's like sleight of hand and magic, smoke and mirrors and all kinds of stuff. So just when you're getting into the music, you got it. And then there's all these other things happening as well, too. And thank goodness nothing popped, like a balloon or anything like that, right?
No, they were obviously built very intensely to withstand going to Europe and coming back. And like, I don't know what they were made of, some sort of, I don't know, sorcery.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. No, it was nice. And well lit up, as you said. Though. Yeah. A couple comments coming in. One of our regulars here and friends and our YouTube members, Lori, says, Katie, love your new song. And of course, Smashing Pumpkins as well. We'll talk about your new song and video as well, too. And getting lots of positive comments saying, everyone is saying how beautiful Katie is and how very well put together you are. So, and in times of COVID. Well,
the illusion is complete.
You're doing great. No, that's fantastic. And one of our other regulars here, too, it is her birthday today. Maybe we could even get a birthday wish from you. It's Elizabeth Coleman's birthday. And maybe we could get a happy birthday to Elizabeth Coleman.
Oh, happy birthday, Elizabeth. Wonderful. Thank you for telling us. What a wonderful year. And as I said, like, we get to do a do-over year. So whatever age you're turning this year, you can just turn it again next year. It doesn't count.
Fantastic. And I just got a message from my beautiful Sandra Lee. She says, the birthday girl is actually pulled off to the side of the road watching this right now. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed that, Elizabeth. And thank you so much for being a true supporter of the show. It's great. But I mean, growing up as a young girl over in Australia, moving over here to North America, United States, stuff like that, did you ever anticipate that the world would be shut down in something like this, like with a pandemic?
No, I mean, I don't think. I think because, we get, inoculations and things as children, and, we're safe, and, obviously the inventions of penicillin and, soap, like we, I don't know. And I know we've had some scares in the past across the world for, other mini sort of episodes of things that have had outbreaks, but I don't think people really think like that. And like, once you sort of understand that there are viruses, like there's at any given time on the planet, there's thousands of viruses. And obviously this sort of pandemic is going to change, I suppose, everything moving forward, knowing that this can and will probably happen again, just because, humans, interact with a lot of animal species and we wipe out their habitats, and or we come into contact with animals and things are transferred, and that's just how, that you can't avoid contact with certain animals and people and things like that. You just can't. And I really don't know. I don't think anybody anticipated this sort of thing, but looking down, I suppose, if you look back in history, even just to 100 years ago, it's like this happened. Like to think that it wasn't going to happen again was very foolish.
Right. Like, it's foolish of us, and obviously government bodies and other people plan for these things and assume it will happen. And we have the CDC and other government agencies set up. How very non-musical of me to be talking like this. I feel very official right now, like I should straighten my tie. But
but I'm not wearing a tie.
I know what you mean, but yeah, I know what you mean.
But it's foolish of us to think that we're untouchable
Mhm.
when we feel that way every year except the years that you catch a flu or a cold and you're like, oh yeah. Or you scrape your knee or you get a splinter and you're like, oh yeah. We think like that, like we sort of convince ourselves we're invulnerable to harm until we realize how fragile we really are and that we really should be taking care of each other and ourselves a lot more, and any sense of community. I mean, I know this has been really isolating for everybody and very saddening for a lot of people because there's been a lot of loss and tragedy with this particular pandemic. But at the same time, it should bring us together after the fact because we should now know, okay, well, we are all in this together. Like that's an unavoidable fact, and we can come out of this if we're smart enough and if we realize that we're not invulnerable, as I was saying. But it's crazy, and nobody anticipates this. Nobody thinks, oh yeah.
I know, right? Yeah, we should have learned from our ancestors. I mean, we go way back to our great grandparents, and they experienced these things, and obviously the life expectancy back then was a lot less as well too. And then it's funny too, like the life expectancy today is so much higher, yet we're eating all these cancerous foods, and it's almost like we're trying to test ourselves. Okay, so we can live to be 96 now, but yet we're eating all these things that technically should kill us when we're 40. We just you got to use some common sense for sure. But here's a comment that just come in from another one of our regulars, our friend Karina says, Katie, you did some session work with Devin Malone. He's an old acquaintance, friend of mine, great guy and great musician. No, I don't know Devin. Devin Malone, is that a familiar name?
Yes, I have worked with him as a guitarist because he's fantastic, and we played some live shows together, but I also brought him in to do some sessions with myself and another acoustic guitarist, Mark Lonsway, and we did. I was very ambitious. It was at the beginning. Was it the beginning of last year? See, I forget time. I don't even know what year it is now. It was last year. Could have been the end of 2018. I can't remember when I shot them, but basically, instead of doing official videos, I decided to go into the studio with my producer and also a mini film crew and actually do live sessions to video at the same time. So very ambitious for anybody to do that because recording alone is stressful, filming video alone is stressful. Let's do them both at the same time, stressful times infinity. But did basically an entire EP, like so I put out an EP called Things That Break Part 1 and basically recorded that entire EP during those sessions to that. So I call it, and it was at a little studio in Nashville called Shoebox. So it's titled the Shoebox Sessions. And I've got videos of that right across YouTube where Devin is playing electric in that and singing, and they're also on Spotify and all that stuff. But just really scaled back versions of those songs off that EP. And yeah, great guitarist. Really long answer.
No, that's okay. That's good. That's good. And I'm glad Karina brought that up because it sparked some great conversation. And we have a new regular here on the show as well too, Lisa Love, and she's one of the fans in the chat, and she's a cancer survivor herself. I heard her mentioning this before, and she's taking a break from chemo right now, but she says that she loves the show, and this show today brightens her day. So I knew we're going to bring some positivity with you on the show. So fantastic.
Well, that's really wonderful to hear. My mum is still going through a little bit of chemo. She's still got another year of chemo, but she's basically fought it off too. She had like some surgeries and then they went into radiation, and then she just kept having spots that would blip up in her system because she's technically stage 4, but she's still going through chemo. So whenever I hear stories of people that are going through chemo or are coming out of it, I'm like, wow, like not only are you super brave and strong, but like it's amazing when we trust our best scientists to do their stuff. Like science. Science is good, right?
They are the ones that they deserve the paycheck. And I mean, I'm all for sports celebrities making $umpteen million if you're worth it.
Yeah.
But these medical professionals that are out there that are bringing unconditional, non-traditional medicines and things, they deserve that. They really do. Yeah. So good luck to your mom as well. She's back home in Australia.
Yes.
Yeah. And when's the last time you've been back there?
It's been almost 2 years. I was planning to go back in February, and then I was like, well, I'll just go back after the tour. Mm-hmm. And then the tour didn't happen because the pandemic did instead. And then it's been like, whoa, Is it safe to travel? Not really. I mean, is it safe to do short haul travels? Sure, probably, because you're not breathing in that much circulated air for that amount of time. But traveling for 16 hours in a lot of planes like that, I think you're kind of asking for trouble.
I agree.
So
I agree.
I'm not sure when it is safe to travel. And even then, if I do travel, then I'm like, we'll have to quarantine when I get there, and also quarantine probably when I get home. So the trip is going to last for a year.
It's going to be a long one. I know, normally you plan for like these short little, even if it might be a month trip, like if the average person can afford to do that and take a month off and just go away, now it's become, like you say, a year almost. But I made a note of this. I wanted to I have to read it because I won't get it right. But a while back, you posted something on your social media, and today's video is kind of tentatively titled like saying goodbye to 2020 with Katie Cole and looking ahead to 2021. And you put a nice post on Facebook. You said something along the lines of 2020 being a hell of a year, and you asked fans, what did you overcome this year? So I would like to ask you yourself, what did you overcome this year?
I think I've always been one to be a little hesitant in my career. I like to sit back and watch things and then make moves. This is going to be a long answer again.
Good, please go ahead.
But really good at long answers, and sometimes long answers to questions that weren't asked. But I sort of took it in my stride this year just because we all had to do so much adapting, like we were saying before, and pivoting to, well, I can't do that or that or that. What can I do? And forcing myself to sort of embrace the fear of and the hesitancy that I, have been with in the past, and just gone, well, what can you do? When can you do it? Why are you doing it? And how can you do it? And sort of taking my power back in that sensibility. So I suppose this year for me has been about telling myself that I can, allowing myself and giving myself permission to do it. Mm-hmm. And really just trying not to be afraid of what you can really accomplish on your own, really with everybody else, like, when everybody has sort of grinded to a halt in terms of their careers, they're like, you're waiting for touring, or I'm watching people still trying to go through the motions of going through, the normal machine of the music industry. And like, I've been without that machine pretty much my entire career, and it hasn't stopped me from doing it. Each time I've hit a brick wall, I've gone, well, what can I learn from this? How do I get over the wall? Can I just break through the wall? Why is the wall there? Who put it there? Like, just going through those motions. But this year taught me to be hesitant if it's smart to do so. Like, there's nothing wrong with analyzing a situation, but when you're being hesitant because you're afraid and knowing the difference between the two things, and that can be hindering to your career. And this particular year, I took it on board just to be like, well, I got to put out new music. I've got to work out how to do that, how to keep my fans engaged, how to show them some of my personality, seeing as I can't tour. And usually I get to do that when I'm on stage. I get to jump out on a stage, even if it's like, I was telling this story a couple of weeks ago on another interview of me doing the first show of the European tour for Smashing Pumpkins. The opening band pulled out, so I get the knock on my dressing room door if I want to open the show. And, I did the thing of being smartly hesitant, going, I need to run through my songs, and then going and sound checking immediately and going and doing it. But going, okay, well, I can do that. I can do things on the fly. I can create an audience. I can be engaging like that. How do I do it when I'm not in front of people? How do I keep it so it's interesting and different and engaging still, and I'm not being repetitive? And like, I've managed to keep my fans sort of engaged doing all these live online shows and embracing that in a smart fashion, and not just going, I'm just going to go live every week or randomly like some people do. I plan the shows out, what I'm going to do for them, and show I've got coming up, which is December 5th, there's titled Guilty Pleasures.
Nice.
Because everybody has those songs that they're really embarrassed that they love.
Mm-hmm.
Like super embarrassed, but it's just like, damn it, I still like it, and that's cool. So I just that's the theme of the show. But like I've done different themes, and I always make sure that it's an environment of community when I do these shows, so that people can get that fix of feeling like they're belonging to a moment with a crowd, even if you're not with the crowd.
That's right.
But this year for me, I got to wrap up this answer, has been just embracing the unknown, knowing I can adapt. I've proven to myself that I know how to adapt, and just not being trying to not be as hesitant about things. Just try to use the tools that you've got, knowing that I feel like I've got a lot more tools than a lot more people because I've done this for so long on my own, not reliant on anyone else to do things for me. If I suppose if you put an artist on their own without the record label, all of a sudden it's like, well, who's doing my social media posts, or who's doing my artwork, or who's putting out my
Mm-hmm.
That's me all the time, forever. So I'm used to doing that. I'm used to creating things on the fly or adapting things on the fly. Just that's who I am, and that's why I'm still going, because I've been able to do that. But I've been just trying to be that better version of myself, and trying to leave like when I get onto stage, try and just leave the fear and the hesitation and the worries of the day at the foot of the stage before you get up there.
Mm-hmm.
Then do your job, like just trying to be that.
Yeah.
I suppose.
Well, you know what's really nice about this, and I think I achieved what I was hoping to when I asked you this, because you asked your fans the same question, and now your fans get to see. I mean, it's like you practice what you preach, and you've told your fans, exactly what you've overcome this year. I'll share something with you that's nowhere near as dramatic as your answer, and it was a beautiful, beautiful answer and story. Something that I've overcome this year. It's very, very small, but it's changed my life. We have a couple dogs, really nice dogs. We have they're Chihuahua. One is a Chihuahua Basenji mix, and one is a Chihuahua Shih Tzu mix, and we love them, hailing in trouble. And I've never wanted cats, even when Junior was young, he would say, "Can we get a cat?" And I'm like, "No, your mom's allergic to them." Right. And she's not. I just say that.
Yeah, you just say that.
I didn't want cats, and all of a sudden, Sandra, she's outside one day, and this little black cat comes up and rubs up against her on the porch out there, and then looks up at her with like these little eyes, and how they do that. And next thing you know, and normally me would be like, nope. And I took a love to this cat, and we now have her. Her name is Gypsy. So we put out some messages out there, and I think what happened in our small little town, people brought a bunch of cats and they dropped them off strays and let them go. So we got them, we checked out and everything. No one claimed them. And then about, Sandra will correct me, but about a month later, we hear this whining outside. And Sandra has a nice window box, several window boxes of flowers outside, and she plants every year. And the cat was laying in the box, a much bigger cat, and black as well too. And so we've named her Windy. I suggest the name Windy from Window Box. And long story short, these cats have changed my life. I've never thought I'd want cats. I cannot walk past them without kissing them and smelling them and give them a big hug. And it's kind of changed me somewhat as well too. Like I just find myself maybe a little bit more, maybe sometimes emotional, or just really appreciating things. And 2020 has a lot to do with that itself. But these two cats is something I overcome this year, and made me very happy.
Oh, that's so good to hear. I'm a cat person
Are
myself.
You? Do you have some?
I've always had cats, and I feel like cats choose you. I really do.
Yeah.
I know people say that cats choose you. They do. The amount of times I've been either in my life, like I've been in my life without a cat, then all of a sudden I find that a neighborhood cat is coming to visit me, and I'm like, what? But like I'm a rescue cat person, so like cats that I own are typically rescued from animal shelters and things like that, just because I figure they deserve a new life and another start. But I really feel like cats, once you've earned their trust and their love, they just love you in a completely different way. It has to be, it's got to be one of mutual respect and trust.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a one-way situation. Once they think that you're their person, it's like that's a whole other ball game.
I agree. Do yours get into? I'm assuming the answer is yes. Because you'll know when I ask this question, you know I'm a novice cat owner. Do yours get into trouble too?
Not so much because I have indoor cats because they.
But like they cause trouble in the house.
Yes, they were rescued, but they'd previously been declawed, so they can't go outside. Well, they can't live outside, I should say. Right. They can't live outside because they can't defend themselves.
But by trouble, though, do they break things or anything? Do they get into any kind of mischievous trouble in the house?
Well, a little bit, but you sort of have to. Cats, I mean, until they hit like a certain age point where they sort of settle down naturally and they get into like their midlife cat thing, you kind of have to kid-proof your house a bit.
Yeah.
So there's really anything that looks kind of fun is fun, and anything that looks like can be knocked down will be knocked down.
Yep.
So certain cats look for trouble, and if you don't give them specific toys to play with, whatever it is that is the most valuable thing in your house or the picture frame that you don't want them to knock, that's what they're going to go for.
Yep.
So, but I like that. I like that about them, that they know how to get your attention too.
It is. And it is, when you said kid-proofing, that's what Sandra says as well too. Totally kid-proofing. Like our one Gypsy, she's probably the worst. She's the youngest. And it's like, I think she probably thinks her name is Gypsy No, because that's all she hears, Gypsy No.
Yeah.
You know, it's just so funny, but I love it. I'll take the damage, and I've already had some stuff broken, and I've had some of my guitar amps clawed and all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, at the end of the day, they make you so happy that the good
it ends up being worth it.
I agree.
Yeah.
Just going back,
get some toys, get a cat tree.
Oh yeah, we got one of those. Love them. Yep.
Yeah. Get something that they can take their frustration out on. That thing over there, please.
That's right. One last thing, I'll just stay on the cat topic just for a second. Do you know about polydactyls?
Yes. I saw them when I was I went to a Songwriters Festival in Key West many years ago, and I visited the Hemingway house, and it's full of polydactyl cats.
Yes.
They're just there's all these exhibits, and they're literally roped off areas, and the cats are like in the roped off areas just being cats, like lying on the bed with like their tons of, extra little digits.
Yeah. Well, the reason why I asked, we have one. One of the two is a polydactyl. And I guess England is common for them, and one of the other places is Canada. Strangely enough, and I don't even think Sandra saw it here. I showed her the one day. I said, "Do you see Wendy's her thumb or whatever?" And then she thought it was just like a anomaly, whatever. And she looked at it a little closer, and it looks like a big skidoo mitt. And they actually have extra claws. So I tell you, if I was a cat, I would not want to fight a polydactyl.
Oh no, it's
Yeah. But going back to what we were talking about, we mentioned Lisa there a little while ago, and she wanted to say she's sending she says Katie's mother is in her prayers, and this is her 5th time. So we got some extra positive energy going back home for Mom.
Oh, I appreciate that. That's very sweet. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Lisa. So Friday was a big day. The new record double LP come out, and definitely I'm getting back into vinyl. So I'm loving vinyl, and we've got a few collections here as well too, but the Pumpkins double LP come out. Can you tell us a little bit about your involvement with that?
No, of course I can't. It was a really long project, and I actually Googled it. I thought I may have spoken to you in 2018 last, but it was actually a year ago. This year has just been endless.
It feels long, I know.
I'd actually started working on that project. It would have been roughly around the time I spoke to you, because I started working on that project in November of last year. And I was gifted the task of coming up with the initial background vocal arrangements. And I was given a couple of songs to start with, and it was a really long process. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It was a long process of building up layers and then tearing them down and rebuilding them and so forth, and then getting basic approval from Billy if that's what he liked and what he didn't like. And I was given 2 songs to start with and a third, and the first 2 were Color of Love and Tiger Tiger. And Tiger Tiger was a really challenging one that I put a lot of that one took me probably the longest to do out of the first 2, just because it's really involved, and I really created a really sort of insanely sort of Peter Gabriel attack approach with the vocals. They're quite the vocals are quite thick. The music's quite thin and synthy. you're listening like the whole you're following Billy through the song, and then these vocals just come out and just do all these weird things at you. So once I feel like I got through those two songs, and then I was given a third song, which was Anna Satana, and I felt like that was one I felt really strongly about off the bat. Like I felt like I knew exactly what to do with that song, and build that one up and set that off. And then from that point onwards, he basically let me have free reign with the rest of the songs.
Wow.
And then we get to them once we got to the studio.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like, I'll say that lightly, but this is me I spent 119 hours on these background vocals before getting into the studio, just because each song was so intense and so, I don't know, so different and extreme, and like, it's like Essential Pumpkins, but a new wave of Pumpkins. It's just this whole other thing that they just needed so much attention paid to them. And like, I was given the task of not only coming up with the background vocal arrangements, but like, Billy had said to me that these, because I asked him, like, what do you want to reference off? What do you want me to sort of invoke into these parts? Because, I wasn't sure, because, previously there hasn't been a lot of background vocals on really Smashing Pumpkins material. It's present. It's always present, but it's not thick. And like, I was thinking, is this going to be like a delicate situation, or is this going to be a big situation? And once he initially spoke to me and he was like, no, Queen and the Sweet and Mamas and Papas and Crosby, Stills and Nash and Fleetwood Mac. And he just named off all these very vocal heavy bands. And I was like, whoa. And so I was very intrigued to hear the music. So once I obviously got the music, worked on those first three, and then we're working on the rest of the songs, then it was like then going into the studio in January. And it's like, and then pulling apart bits and pieces that we changed along the way. A lot of what I did initially stuck, which is great. And I went purposefully did too much on all the songs, knowing that it's much easier to sort of strip off a layer. It's like, it's easier to take off a jacket than to find a jacket if you need one.
Oh yeah, sure. Yep.
Do you understand?
Oh, I do.
I'll just make that as my analogy of the day. The jacket, it's much like a vocal. Let's put that on a t-shirt.
Yeah.
No, it's much easier to sort of strip off the things that I'd done, because so many of the songs I created like either a swell of vocals of like this stack of this thing going on, and some things were just moments. So if you don't like that moment, that's easy just to get rid of. But if you do like it, it's a moment, and it's something that could be replicated in another section, or it could just be its own solitary moment. So I just went for anything I had a really strong inkling for. I just really went, and my producer Howard Willing, who was engineering all the sessions for it too, and he's been working with the Pumpkins forever. He was sort of my sounding board to like how far to go with these songs. Just because it's hard, because like I'm always just like, usually if I'm doing background vocals for someone, I'm quite nice with them, or I'll listen to the song and do what I think the song needs or what I think they really want. Even if they ask me to do something, I'll do what they really want me to do with something. But, after initial discussions with Howard, and he was just like, no, you've got to go all the way with these songs. Like, don't save anything. Just go all the way. Go as far as you can go with these things. Because the songs are so extreme, the background vocals need to be that way also. They need to be part of the DNA of the songs. And anything else that's added or put back in the mix, or because I think there was still, at the time that I did background vocals, I think extra guitars and things like that were done, but they weren't on the mixes that I had that I was working with. So knowing that this other stuff was going to be bouncing off stuff too, or that it wasn't present in the mix that I had. So it was a really challenging task to come up with stuff, but I'm so blessed to have been given this sort of task, because I've heard some of the responses from people of, obviously as these songs have been rolling out over the last few months, and it's like they released so much material and then had still only put out, I think, half the album.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's crazy that they were able to do that and had 20 songs to start with. But yes, my role was definitely background vocals in the studio, along with Sierra Swan, who was brought in. She's got a really cool sounding voice. It's very much like its own deep, intense sort of instrument. She's like a cello when she sings. So it's just one of those, she sounds best to me, in my opinion, in her sort of lower range. So, you know, if I've created a section where it's like, okay, there's 8 parts to a section, that's me. If there's 8 parts to the section, I might give her like the lowest part, then one of the middle range parts, and then I'll fill in the rest of the gaps. And depending on, and we went by song by song by song, and if we tweaked parts along the way, that's what we did with Billy. Like he because he was listening to, after the 3 songs that I'd sent him, he was listening to these songs with us before getting started, having not heard these parts that I'd created before. So he was making decisions on the fly when we went into the studio to, do I like it? Do I not like it? I get rid of this stuff in the verse. Change that. Let's change this part around here. What else can we do in this chorus? I'm not loving this section here. So it was then, but I mean, that's the thing. Like I'd already done so much work that it was easier just to, as I said, cull out parts. Or if we liked the feeling of something but just wanted to tweak it a little bit, then taking the time to sit and not reconfigure the section, but sort of rewrite or rearrange the section. Then it was like Billy making his own personal preference choices on, I like this note better than that note, and I don't like this really hard harmony in this chorus, so let's take this one out, let's focus more on the fifths and things like that around what he's doing melodically. And like, as he's famously said in many, many interviews, like he does not sing standard harmonies or melodies or anything like that. Nothing that he does with his melodic choices are standard.
Textbook
and
at all.
And that's what makes him him. That's what makes him the songwriter that he is, that he makes sure that he steps out. If you're going to do something like he makes you listen to a song and go,
yeah, I get you. Yeah.
Like you kind of just, you have to adapt your sense of gravity to understand what he's doing sometimes.
But you get it at the end. You do get it.
You get it in the end.
Yeah.
It's like if you can stay with him and stay on your feet and not have fallen off your chair by the time you've got through something, it's always worth it. So,
and I think he makes you do that.
In songs, the melody was so extreme that like I didn't know where I was going to go with this section. And sometimes I was like, okay, well, I just need to let him soar. Like I've learned this from listening to other sort of vocal arrangers, like just let him soar, let him do his thing and create something else underneath what he's doing. Like be supportive and be with the music, and then come up and meet him every so often in a section, or meet him at a word, or meet him in a phrase, or meet him at a key moment, and then go back to sitting underneath and being weird. Like I just tried to find different ways to be, to sing with him. Yeah. And not just, I don't know. I never want to disrespect what somebody else is doing musically or take away from what they're doing musically. And it was just such an involved process.
Yeah. Well, I've never had the luxury of meeting Billy or James or even Jimmy, but I have obviously a personal connection to the band because of Jeff. Jeff has become a family friend. I love Jeff to death.
Yeah,
we talk a lot. Great. We talked to some Van Halen the other night, and I've never met you yet, but I guaranteed when the Pumpkins tour again, I will meet you for sure. But I've had a personal connection just to speaking with you, and we're in the car yesterday. Junior's with me, and he's got Spotify on his phone. He's got the premium Spotify, so we're listening to the new record. And we got through about five songs on our short little travel. And whenever I go anywhere, it's just me that goes out. He's in the car, but he doesn't get out of the car. And I was like, listen, here, that's Katie. Hear that? That's Katie. And it was so, because I know where you're at. I can tell the voice and where it is. Sometimes it's deceiving if it's you or not. But beautiful. It's fantastic. But we're running short on time, so I want to mention something else here. It's kind of Pumpkins related. You did and I just commented on your YouTube channel today, and we've got your link in the description, and Sandra shared it as well too. You did a beautiful keyboard and guitar cover and all the vocals of Sear. And I saw a lot of the comments, some really good praise on that. I love it. Was that fun to do? Like, I mean, I know you obviously spent a lot of time with that and arranging, but was it fun to cover yourself?
It was fun in the sense that I could sort of reimagine and share with people, how an inception of a song really works a lot. So, I mean, those songs, like I'm sure all Smashing Pumpkins songs and all Billy Corgan's solo material, it's all conceived on a guitar or a piano to start with. So it really came from that, and I just wanted to respect it and really show it in a different sensibility. So I put a little cello in there too, just to kind of sit underneath it and shift notes when I wanted it to. I did most of the same background vocals that I did in my original arrangements and just sang them a little less aggressively just to fit this new format that this new sort of style that I created with that song. But I had got some really good praise and people going like, wow, or I either prefer this version or I can hear where the song sort of came from. I even had a few versions of people going, are they the original background vocals from the track? And I'm like, no, I actually went through and re-sang them all, and it took me ages because there's so many of them.
Yeah.
I just didn't do like 4 tracks of each section. No. I just did 2 and then moved on because it was still like 10 layers of vocals to do. So it was still 20 tracks or whatever. It's a cover, so I didn't want to go like too nuts. So
yeah. What do you use to record?
I do love reimagining stuff, and like a lot of stuff on my YouTube channel outside of my original music is me either covering stuff I've always wanted to, or I've done series of songs, or like the last series I did was Producer's Choice, where I just said Howard, choose a bunch of songs and put them in a playlist for me, and I'm going to go through them all. And I learned so much because there were songs by like Nat King Cole and the Cars, and it was Bing Crosby. It was all over the shop, Marvin Gaye. So I just learned something from every time I go through and learn a song from somebody, that how to not just play the song but interpret it, to give it a true emotional sensibility. I really think that emotions are the things that, I mean, performance is one thing, but conveying the emotion so that the emotion comes across in the song. And I honestly think that's the biggest thing that people reacted to from that Sia cover, that I gave it a sadder emotion to it. Because even though the song's quite like, you hear the original version, and it's like it's all up in your face, but I gave it a version where it felt like there was some longing in there, and I think people sort of reacted to that because obviously we're all longing for something right now, because we're just longing to like put something other than sweatpants on, even if that's your sense of longing.
I agree. There's one person that commented on there, and they got a lot of likes on the comment themselves, and I think I liked the comment too, and I agree with this 100%. They said something along the lines, I can't say it, I can't quote it exactly, but it's almost like you're leaving this horrible relationship or something behind you, and leaving your town. You packed up your car and you just go. And they said it would be almost like a soundtrack to a great movie, leaving all that crap behind you. And it really did feel that way, because there was emotion in what you did. And it's like, whoa, I really encourage everyone to check that out. And I'll actually, even though we've got a link to your channel, I'll put a link to that exact video so people can see that one. I shared it on Facebook as well and Twitter today.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
But
I try to make sure that my YouTube is filled with either my stuff, as you were starting to say a bit earlier on, like I put out a new single and video, a song called Hands Tied.
Yes.
That I shot during the pandemic, which was very challenging to work with a makeup person and a film person and be like away from them.
Yeah.
It's really, really challenging. But I'm so proud of that video. It's one of my favorite songs that I put out as well, because it's guitar layered to hell from obviously the incredible Tim Pierce. Did all the guitar work for that. And I just have some great musicians, Fred Aldringham on drums and Jimmy Lee Slows on bass, and just killer people. I'm really, really proud of that. But outside of what I do as an original artist, I try to always respect what I'm doing. If I'm covering material, knowing that if your first impression of me is hearing something that I've done, whether it's that Sia cover, that inspires you to go, who is she? What else has she got?
Deep dive
and then going to my channel and going, oh, she's an artist. Oh, well, she's got all these other things. Let me buy all of her albums right now.
Exactly. There you go.
Exactly how I hope that.
Yeah,
that
of course. No, that's fantastic. And I swear, I mean, sometimes I share my show notes with my guests, And I don't think I did last time with you or this time, but I swear you were reading my notes verbatim, because the last thing I wanted to go into was Hands Tied. I shared that as well today too. Beautiful, beautiful song. And we got to give some props to your photo team and the graphics team too. Like that last shoot that you did, that's the thumbnail I used today. I mean, talk about taking us on a time travel. You know, I mean, do you want to give a kind of props out to them for the photos that I mean, you just look incredible in it, but it takes us to another time again too.
Well, I'll shout out originally to the photo team, and it's actually lovely girl Chelsea Thompson. She works under the name Dire Image, and she is a photographer, but she's also a makeup artist and singer-songwriter, and she's one of those I do everything ladies. Incredible photographer, but we did a photo shoot, and she glammed me up in all the ways that I'm like, because I'm just like, I love the 60s, I love the 70s, put all of that on my face right now. And that's the look and everything that I really wanted to sort of capture, because I don't want to ever look at photos of myself and know what year it was or what I was doing. I want to go,
yeah,
I just want like the time traveling thing. That's exactly what I want it to be. I just want it to be like, whoa.
Yeah.
So I love her, and so I brought her back in to do all this, my makeup and stuff for the video for Hands Tied as well. And she made my hair the biggest hair that I've ever had, and I'm so proud of that hair. I'm still waiting for her to post the initial work when she'd finished my hair, because it's very Barbarella-ish in a way. It's very big hair. But she nailed it for the look for the video, and I used the same director that I've used for Graceland and for Mile in My Shoes, Dalton Sneddon. So it's DS Creatives. He's great. I found him, and he actually shot all my videos for the Shoebox sessions too. Just really creative guy, and he's just got that eye, like young guy, but I know that. Like, I know he's gonna be one of those guys that just takes off, just because
he's a big future, really special, and just he captured all the right things that I wanted to in that video for Hands Tied, knowing that, again, social distancing, I can't go out. I originally wanted it to be really sort of urban and in crowds of people and street lights, and then I'm like, I can't be anywhere, because if we shoot downtown in Nashville, everyone's just gonna have face masks on. So I'm like, and that becomes dated too, doesn't it?
As I said, like, I want things to never feel like they're in a certain time or place or whatever. So we ended up taking a bit more of a urban back alley, back streets, you know, just finding really cool looking spots. And I brought out like the best of the 90s I just took in like my favorite sort of Sheryl Crow and Fiona Apple videos. And I'm just like, I'll capture elements of that along with my 60s and 70s weirdness. Let's just do that, and let's just make it something real sort of pretty to look at while you're listening to this song. And I really think the visual element that you put to music is very, very important, because people really do listen with their eyes.
Agreed.
It's a shame, because it is such an art form, and like I really urge people to listen to all music with the best headphones possible, or the best speakers possible, because these people have, you know, taken all this time to make this art and whatnot. It's like, if you're listening just on your phone, or you just whatever it is that it's fine. Like, I've got nothing against like HomePods, and you think that like use that's fine. But if you really want to sit down and hear the album the way that the artist wants you to, buy a good quality pair of headphones, put them on so you can hear where all the pans are supposed to be. You can hear what's stereo when it comes down to being super personal, to when it spreads and is lush. Like, you can hear all that stuff with headphones on. You can't hear it. You can't hear it through a phone that often goes to a mono setting when you've got it on speaker.
No, you don't even hear the fidelity. I agree. I'm just watching some TV shows. I mean, obviously we talked about Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul at the top of the hour. My son has better headphones, and I have really good ones. So I was borrowing his. I was going back and listening to some stuff in Dave Porter's soundtrack. It's just things that you never heard before in your life. Like, oh my God, you know, it's amazing. And I agree with you too, not wanting this stuff to be dated. And I'm also a fan of stuff purposely dating things. So you want to document some of this stuff. We want to see some things, some films and things documenting Mask and what it was like at that time. But I also like films and things where you're not seeing like people talking about Facebook or Instagram or things like that, or even don't even show computer technology if you can help it. You know, focus more on the actors and the dialogue than what's around it, because you want to be able to watch it 20 years from now and still think it's just as good then as it was now, right?
Yeah, I feel the same way about songwriting. Like when you're deliberately putting things about social media or Facebook or Snapchat into a song lyric.
Yeah.
Like when I first moved to Nashville and was doing a lot of the country songwriting, which I sort of pulled myself out of a little bit, I just started to write with people, continue to write with people I wanted to write with rather than just writing with everybody just to try and get a cut of a song. I never liked all those references of trying to be like of the moment, because I'm like, you can't be of the moment when a song that you've written probably won't come out for a year or two.
I know it's dated. It's already dated.
You can't be. That makes zero sense.
No.
So, yeah, avoiding those references in film, television, and music is the smarter thing to do, just so that people can have that escapism that they really want when they listen to something or watch something. They just want to just not. They want to not this for a second. They just want to like just de-stress, de-wire, de-everything, just be themselves and
Agreed.
And chill out. And it's hard because today, like what I was saying earlier about everything being online, and like I now do all my shows online, it's very hard to find a really healthy connection with technology when if that's all you're doing, or for people that have school-age children, if they're learning from the computer and then getting off that computer to then go to a phone to play, it's like it doesn't ever stop.
Agreed.
So finding that connection and the healthy way to disconnect is a really interesting thing that I think is going to be something that people are probably already sort of going through it right now, like how to continue having a healthy relationship with technology going forward, knowing this is how people are going to be working more from home, having meetings from home, I've already worked out what my relationship is. Like I turn the ringer off on my phone.
Nice.
I don't have any push notifications. I pick it up to do the thing. I pick my phone up to do the thing I need to do, and then it's off.
Yeah.
And then if I hadn't developed that relationship with technology, sort of before this pandemic hit, I don't know where I'd be at emotionally right now, because it is addictive. It's an addictive device.
Of course.
I'm just really grateful that I get to, I suppose, do this, talk to yourself, make music, continue to just try and give people that sense of escape that I know we've always wanted. That's why we listen to music, to either stay in a moment, stay in love, stay brokenhearted, or escape. It's always one of those couple of things. And this is my time right now. Like, share, if you've got music to put out, as I was saying earlier on, don't stall. Find a way to put it out. Find your method. Don't hold back on people, because this is the time that your art is kind of needed the most.
I agree 100%. Three last things as we wrap up. They're very quick things, but very important things. I will comment in the chat. AZ says, Katie, it's wonderful. Thank you. Or Katie is wonderful. Thank you for this great interview. Nice to meet her, and I look forward to listening to her music. Number two, I know we didn't get a chance to touch base on this, but I know you're a big fan of Yamaha guitars, and we'll talk some more Yamaha. We're going to dedicate at least a segment of another show down the road. Whenever you want to come back, we'll talk about Yamaha. But you're seen playing Yamaha in pretty much all your videos where you're playing guitar. Can you just give a quick note of how much you like working with the people at Yamaha?
Oh yeah, they've been supporting me since the In Plainsong tour, which would be 2016. I'd always sort of had on and off relationships with guitar companies in and out of Australia, and when I saw that they were heavily supporting the Smashing Pumpkins, and they worked out that I was an artist and really wanted to get behind me and sort of support me, I was like, okay. And once I worked out like a couple of their acoustics that I love, like I have one of the Red Label series, and I also have one of the A series, and like there's some of their guitars just feel like you've always owned them.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of picking up any sort of new guitar and going, oh, I have to play this in.
Yeah, I know, right?
That
Break it in.
of like it just like the neck doesn't feel right yet, or it just feels stiff, or it feels too thin or too thick. Usually you pick up a guitar and you're like, eh.
Mm-hmm.
But the guitars that I have of there, they've always felt like, I don't know, they've felt good from the first play, and that's something really special. I mean, actually, the first guitar I ever owned, the first acoustic electric I ever owned, it wasn't a great Yamaha, but it was still a Yamaha. It was a really cheap, thin-bodied sort of one. I remember like I think I must have dropped it at some point. I think I bought it when I was 16.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember like the input in it used to buzz a little bit when you like it wasn't great.
Yeah.
But it was one of the first guitars I ever owned. So I still have a huge affinity. It was always in the back of my mind. It was Yamaha. Like it just always kind of sat there. And until, it came sort of full circle back to them sort of coming on board and supporting me. And like I've done shows for them for Summer NAMM, and I've got something upcoming with them for Winter NAMM as well. And they've just been super supportive, and I really couldn't ask for a better affiliate sponsor, just because their products are so good. And I'm like yourself, like I don't use anything that I don't love.
All right, exactly.
I never have, and I've never been that way, because if you're gonna talk about a product or a brand or whatever, and if you don't use it and love it, like I don't know, it's kind of fraudstery.
Yeah,
fraudsterish.
You're fooling yourself.
It's kind of not cool.
That's right.
It's kind of not cool.
I agree.
And there's been times, like you probably like yourself, when you're at NAMM or at these shows. I mean, clearly not anymore, because we're not going to any of these things for a while now. But people give you free stuff, or they try to give you free stuff, and you're just like,
yeah.
I'm now that person that's like, I don't care about your free stuff.
No.
Like I like the things that I like,
Mm-hmm.
and the brands that I choose to use are because I like them. And that's it. You can't change my mind.
It's okay. It's okay to say no to people. It is. I've said no. I mean, and that doesn't sound I don't want to honestly, it's not being pompous or stuck up or whatever. As I'd say, well, why don't maybe send it to this person over here, another YouTuber over here, there's a smaller channel or a small channel or bigger channel, whatever. But if you don't want it, don't take it. Right? It's okay to say no.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I use Sennheiser microphones because I work with them on and off too, but I used them before I worked with them.
Yeah.
And I work with them because I reached out to them and I'm like, hey, I use your product.
Exactly. And they appreciate that too. That's for sure. One of the things I promised I'd show you one, I'll show you real quickly. I don't want to spend any time on it, but grab it real quick. You've probably seen Jeff playing a lot of these on tour as well too. He has one just like this.
Oh yeah.
I love these things. And I was blessed this time around because, obviously they're imported from Indonesia. These ones anyways, these Rev Stars. But I had Pat Compolitano at Custom Shop do setup on them for me. So I was very, very blessed to actually have his talented hands, do the frets, do everything. So, man, when they came to me, wow, amazing. But the last thing I want to ask you here as we wrap up, just take this moment to, you already mentioned in one of your upcoming stage it shows in December, but anything you want to promote that's coming up, please take that time right now and do so.
I always have new music coming up. I actually have a Christmas song coming up December 11th as well. I don't think I actually officially had it on any of the streaming services, but I put it out previously on like one of my Bandcamp sites, and then I'm like, I should be official with stuff that I do. I still have some stuff on my Bandcamp that I haven't put out officially, but I have a Christmas song coming out in a little bit, and next year I'll have some more music. But if you don't know what I do, as we were discussing, get on like my YouTube and my Spotify and get up to date. And by the time you're up to date with all my stuff, I'll have something new out. But I definitely have new music coming up. Probably, I don't know if it'll be January or February. I'm just trying to work out my schedule because it's me doing everything. The 75 jobs it takes to do
I know
this. But I already have things done and they're in the works. So I'm very excited. I don't want to give too much away.
No, of course.
One of the next songs I have coming out is one of my all-time favorites.
Nice.
It's going to be your favorite too. You just don't know it yet.
Oh, good. I like that. Well, I encourage everyone to check that. I think that's the best thing to do is hit that YouTube channel because there's a lot of stuff to consume. We've got about a month and a little less than a month and a half away for the end of the year. So there's lots of stuff. It'll take you to the end of the year to get through all of it, and you're going to love it. So I encourage people to do that as well too. But this has been an absolute, I knew what we're getting into today. I knew it was going to be good. Got some goosebumps right now, and that's a good sign. Just like good music, you get the goosebumps. I knew speaking to you again today was going to be great, and we only scratched the surface, so I'm going to open an invitation for you to come back in 2021. But I really want to thank you for your time again today.
Of course. I appreciate you having me on, and as I said, it's always a pleasure to talk to not only just another human being, but to talk to you and have these great conversations, and knowing that we're all kind of going through this weirdness together, but music is such a blessing that it can bring us together, even if it brings us together to be like, I don't like that song or I don't like that album. it doesn't matter as long as music makes you feel something. Then to me, like that's what it's all about. Like the arts is something that obviously they're going through a bit of strain right now because of this pandemic. So whatever you can do to support your local artists, or whether if it's film or television, whatever it is that you need to do to support the industries that you love that are creative, please go ahead and do that, because it's very, very important that those things aren't lost forever. But thank you for having me on as a guest. I'll be back anytime you want me. You know, I like to chat.
Awesome. Well, just some thank yous as well, too, just for our people here as well, too. I want to thank my beautiful Sandra Lee for running the chat as efficiently as she always does. She's a great supporter. I would be lost without her. Also, thank you to our YouTube members, a new feature that we've just rolled out on the channel. People can join our channel. We've got some nice friends over in that little group. Our Patreon members, people that buy our merchandise over at broadstash.com. Again, it's so weird saying that now they don't have a mustache anymore. And just the people like everyone that's watching the channel right now that support Katie, support us, support anyone who watches these things on YouTube. We appreciate you greatly. And as I know for you personally, you read pretty much everything that gets commented, good or bad, so, and we do the same here as well too. But listen, don't go away. I'm going to say goodbye to you off the air. And everyone, thank you so much. Have the rest of an enjoyable and safe weekend. And we'll see you back on our regular shows. Starting next week again, too, back inside the Gillaverse, talking some more Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. And Katie, thank you so much, everyone. We'll talk to you very soon. And until next time, cheers.